Hey everybody, welcome back around to the Blog and Grill. I'm your host Doug here with your video blog for August 26th, 2014. We have a great blog once again planned for you on a Tuesday as we're going back to back once again this week and next week. So your blog schedule Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday this week and next week. So tune in for the blog on those days and get me some feedback too on what you want me to talk about a little bit more if you want me to talk about something more. Let's go first. We're going to do some MLB stuff. We'll also talk Seahawks, Rams, two-a-days. We'll give you the standings for the NFC West and your New York sports update as both the Yankees and the Mets are in action tonight. So let's get to the hunt for October. Let's look at the Major League Baseball standings as they continue to shake up as we move towards the playoff race. Yankees gained a little bit of ground in the East as they're now just 6 games back of Baltimore, and that is the only team really still in that race. In the Central, Kansas City still leads Detroit by a game and a half. The West is a deadlock. Oakland and LA both at 77 and 53. They're tied up in the West. In the National League, in the East, first we'll go to, and in the East, Washington has now opened up a 7.5 game lead over Atlanta. In the Central, Milwaukee has a game and a half lead over St. Louis, 6-game lead over the Pirates. And out west, the Dodgers continue to lead the Giants by 5 games. In the wild card standings, we have the West leader and the number 1 spot, and also in the West, Seattle leads the second wild card currently. Detroit half game back, New York 2.5 back now, and as you look further down the standings, Cleveland 4.5, Toronto 5.5. And the National League wildcard race is tight as well. St. Louis and San Francisco currently have the 2 spots. St. Louis with a 2.5 game lead over San Francisco. Atlanta a half game out of the second wild card. Pittsburgh a game and a half, and Miami Marlins still in the race, just 3 games back. We've had quite a few moves shake up Major League Baseball over the past couple of days. I want to get to those briefly. The Pirates send down their leadoff hitter, Gregory Polanco, who was 1 for his last 30. He's been sent down. That shakes up their roster a little bit. Dodgers get a reinsurgence of some offense, possibly with the bringing back of Hanley Ramirez as he returns from the DL from a right oblique injury. And the big news out of Oakland was the loss of their closer, Sean Doolittle. He has a strain of his right inner closer. Okay, and really, this guy's been big time for him. 20 saves, 2.28 ERA. He wasn't the closer all year. 80 Ks and 55 in the third innings pitch. Just remarkable numbers for such a guy as Sean Doolittle. We'll have a lot more on MLB as we get closer to it, and we'll also have a little bit more on New York sports updates, so stay tuned for that. All right, time for your NFL two-a-days. Your first NFL two-a-day is with the Seattle Seahawks, last year's Super Bowl champions. Finished the regular season at 13-3. Good running game and a top 5 defense in the National Football League. Draft, I'm going to give them a B-. I didn't think they got real good players. They got some decent players. I like the wide receiver, Kevin Norwood, out of Alabama. Key additions, they bring in another wide receiver, Kevin Smith, who is with the Detroit Lions. They also bring in defensive lineman Kevin Williams. They do lose some guys. They lose Sidney Rice, the wide receiver, to retirement. Marcus Trufant also retires at cornerback, and defensive end Chris Clemens was released. I think the big question for this team is, can this team keep it up after winning the Super Bowl last year? Can they stay hungry and get it done? We'll see. I have them finishing this year at 12-4. I just want to hit on some brief NFL headlines, give you my take on it. The first one is Michael Sam surviving the first cuts. Ultimately, I think Michael Sam will make this roster. Even though it's logjam with defensive ends, I think he will make it. He's done enough. He has a couple of sacks, and he's shown that he can get up and down the field on special teams as well, which is what rookies really need to do. I think Sam makes the roster, and if he doesn't for some reason, he will play somewhere in the NFL this year. Patriots trade offensive Pro Bowl guard Logan Mankins to the Buccaneers. Just a guy that the Patriots always can make a trade for, right? Patriots can make a trade when they want to, and they do here. And then maybe they saw something in Mankins that they didn't like, so they get him out of there. But Bill Belichick will not be questioned for this. All right, time for your second NFL two-a-day. It is the St. Louis Rams. Last year, 7-9, played in a really tough division. They were good on defense, questionable on offense. Quarterback play was not great with Kellen Clemens playing quite a bit after Sam Bradford went down with a knee injury. Draft, I love their first 4 picks. Greg Robinson, the offensive tackle out of probably the best offensive lineman in the draft out of Auburn. Then they go out and get probably the top-ranked defensive tackle in this draft in Aaron Donald out of Pittsburgh. And then, let me just look here real quick what their other draft moves were. Then they went out and got LaMarcus Joyner, the linebacker out of Florida State, and the running back Trey Mason out of Auburn. Very good 4 picks. I'm going to give them an A on their draft. Their key additions, they bring in Greg Williams as their defensive coordinator, and they also bring in the wide receiver Kenny Britt as a possible weapon. For their new quarterback, Sean Hill, as their only departure is Sam Bradford, who blew out his ACL once again, and Sam Bradford could have the fork put in him. He could be done with the St. Louis Rams, and they could be on their way to looking for somebody new. I think the key is how will they replace Bradford? Well, they're going to bring in Sean Hill for this year, and I think you will see this team draft a quarterback next year wherever they can. There's a lot of good quarterbacks that will be available in the draft next year, and I think they will take one of those quarterbacks. Ultimately, I don't think they play great this year. I think they finish at 6-10. And that takes us to our NFC West standings. I have the Seahawks winning in the division at 12-4, tied with the Niners at 12-4. Cardinals 9-7, and the Rams at 6-10. Time for your New York sports update. Yankees were supposed to start right around 7:05 tonight. They're going to be starting up in about 10 minutes. McCarthy 5-2, 1.90 versus Porcello 14-8 with a 3-1-0. Mets are at home taking on the Braves tonight. It's been Wood 9-9, 3.05 for the Braves against Dylan G 4-6 with a 3.84 ERA. Tomorrow I'll be back. I'm going to talk Heisman hopefuls. Thursday we're going to do our first college football picks of the year, picking against the spread. I'm going to be picking 4 of the big games and then the Syracuse-Villanova game as well. So I'm going to be doing that. Bears and Lions 2-a-days and more, so stay tuned for that. Check me out now on sportsmindednews.com. You can also follow me on Twitter at YankeeBaller415. You can comment, questions, subscribe to my page. Thanks for tuning in to the Blog and Grill. I'll be back tomorrow. Have a good night.